All right. Hello and welcome to the Youth Cafe's Photo and Video Competition Awards Ceremony. My name is Malika Piarli. I'm the Communications Associate at the Youth Cafe, and it is my privilege to co-host this event with my colleague Matikweni, a Communications Specialist and a volunteer at the Youth Cafe. Let me take this opportunity to welcome everyone and express our gratitude to all our guests and members who took their time out of their schedules to join us today. A special thanks to our keynote speaker and guest of honor, Mr. Samuel Kimeu. We look forward to hearing your enlightening words shortly, and our valuable partners from the Ford Foundation, People Powered and Open Governance Institute. Thank you all for joining us. So today's agenda is an introduction to the participants, an introduction to the Youth Cafe, an introduction to the photo and video contest, a preliminary discussion, announcement of the winners, the keynote speech, and the question and answer and feedback sessions. So let's just get right into it. We would love to know who you are. So please go ahead and kindly type in the chat your name, where you're currently based, the organization you're working with, and what you do. And if you had the power to change one thing in the world, what would that be? And what exciting projects are you currently working on, as well as what are your expectations from today's awards ceremony? I'd like to request my colleague Lionel to please read out some of these responses that we are having in the chat.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Youth Cafe Award Ceremony. My name is Ramba Lionel, so if you'd be kind enough to type your name and the organization you work with. You can just write it in the chat.
Okay. Hello, Technopop4. We don't know your name yet, so we can see your hand up. Would you please kindly type your name in the chat? Okay, would you like to unmute yourself and speak?
Oh, okay. I can start. We welcome Sharon Jerry from Africa's Voice Foundation and Kevin Okumu from Nairobi. We also welcome Peter Nguru from Pathways Policy Institutes from Laikipia County in Kenya. As well as Unike Kerubo from Kisumu, working at Transform Empowerment for Action Initiative. Hello to Evelyn Kyoko from Maseno University. And Damaris Aswa from Kesho, Kenya organization based in Kilifi. We also welcome Eve Mathaye from Nairobi. Eve Mathaye from Nairobi, followed the Money Kenya lead and Key Budgets talk founder. Welcome Lucas Sagire from Nairobi, working at National Treasury. I also welcome Rose Naomi from Nairobi, working at ICT Authority, as well as Jafar Masood from Lamu County, working for Faza Youth Action. We also welcome Nehemia Kipsereme from Kenya.
All right, thank you. Thank you for introducing a few of these people. In the interest of time, we're going to move on, but please continue writing in the chat. Tell us what you're thinking. Just we'll be giving you chances we have people who are monitoring the chat, who are listening to you, and we will call you out later on if you would like to speak to us. Just Kevin Okumu, could you please lower your hand if you have said what you wanted to say, yeah? So just a note before we begin, this session will be recorded and live streamed to our audiences of thousands of people on YouTube and Facebook. Do let me know if you might not be comfortable with that. And I'd like to pass it on to my colleague to take us through the next slides.
Thank you very much, Malika. Good day to everyone, and we're extremely privileged to host all of you today. And thank you for joining us today in this awards ceremony. My name is Matikweni Khoza, and I will briefly give you an overview of the Youth Café and what we're all about. We are a non-for-profit Pan-African youth-led organization with our headquarters based in Nairobi, Kenya, and a theory of change as a pathway for action and sustainability, results, learning, and adaptation. It was founded in 2012 and has been working with young men and women in Kenya and around Africa as a trailblazer in advancing youth-led approaches in achieving sustainable development, social equity, innovative solutions, community resilience, and transformative change. Up to now, our organization has reached 72 countries globally, 22 in Africa, and impacted over 2 million youth through our projects. So I'll move on to our strategic plan, what the Youth Café strategic plan is all about. Our current strategic plan looks at today's youth bulge as an opportunity for development, as well as an opportunity for economic growth. To this effect, we partner with young people, leverage research, learning and adaptation, cultivative sustainability and self-reliance, and advanced gender-responsive youth programming. Our work is underpinned by the following set of principles, which we'll move on to. The first thing is to build a more resilient, sustainable, and effective enabling environment for education and work systems for youth who recognize their rights and wills. Secondly, to improve youth at all the decision-making processes and levels of that will affect their lives. Number three, to partner with youth to build a better, more resilient world for all generations. And lastly, number four, to frame youth programs on a gender-responsive and rights-based approach. This implies that youth are considered as rights holders. Now we'll move on to our mission and our vision at the Youth Café. Our mission, firstly, is to enrich the lives of young people by modeling and advancing youth-led and rights-based approaches for fostering community resilience, achieving sustainable development, obtaining an equitable society, proposing innovative solutions, driving social progress, and inspiring transformative change. By utilizing innovative research, policy, and advocacy actions. For our vision, we advance youth-led approaches towards achieving sustainable development, social equity, innovative solutions, community resilience, and transformative change. And in this case, now we'd like to ask, how else does the Youth Café make a change, that you guys might ask? Firstly, we make a change by being a unique youth initiative in Africa that seeks to foster community resilience, propose innovative solutions, drive social progress and change, youth empowerment, and inspire political change in the continent of Africa. Secondly, by being a mobilizing force that achieves results in partnerships with governments, international organizations, religious institutions, United Nations, civil society groups, corporations, youth, and foundations. Thirdly, we make a change by being a creative, amplifying laboratory in Africa that seeks to advocate and foster innovative, impactful, and progressive policies that promote youth participation and engagement. And lastly, we make a difference as a convener by facilitating inclusive, accessible, and empowering digital physical spaces for youth to meaningfully engage with different institutions through supporting. At the Youth Café, we have a theory of change that depicts the relationship between organizations, activities, inputs and outputs and outcomes, and the impact thereof. These basically impact the short and long-term outcomes, as well as reflect the changes at the different levels like individual organizations, systems, and communities. We have therefore incorporated the views of youth-led services and organizations and experts. This is so that our map reflects young people's views of how change occurs. So now I'll ask one of my colleagues to play us a video about the Youth Café's theory of change. Thank you.
Roughly 75% of the African population is below 35 years of age, filling our continent with incredible potential and energy. But despite all this, factors such as poor distribution of healthcare, education, employment, and even water and sanitation facilities have severely crippled our potential. As a result, we can see our youth lacking safe convening spaces and unable to influence the decisions that are being made for their own nation's development. This is where the Youth Café comes in. Since 2012, we as a unique youth initiative have ensured that the talented youths of Africa are allowed to step up and play their role as the new driving force of their nations. How do we intend to bring this change, you may ask? The answer is in our theory of change, an ambitious plan to strengthen the youth of Africa and help them soar to a world of opportunities and freedom by mobilizing the goodwill and support of governments, international organizations, the United Nations, civil society groups, corporations, and the youth of Africa themselves. We follow the theory of change to carry out 8 catalytic, action-driven, and progressive activities for the sake of helping our young citizens. Firstly, we support regional sports, arts, and cultural endeavors. Then, we ensure peace and security for the youth by actively involving the stakeholders to avert their participation in cases of violence and extremism. We regulate seamless flows of knowledge transfer to help educational and skill-based institutions, directly increasing awareness and access to employment opportunities among the youth. Apart from this, we actively work to promote green, resilient, and inclusive development to combat environmental degradation. We regularly push for changes in the regulatory framework to mobilize domestic resources and eradicate poverty for the undocumented and unbanked sections of the youth. Plans to promote improved access to active healthcare privileges and general health awareness against drug abuse, COVID-19, and transmissible diseases are being carefully planned by us for the young citizens. A growing businesses incubation program has been set up to support unfunded business ideas of young entrepreneurs by offering them startup capitals. And finally, we represent accountability initiatives and increasing advocacy for political stability, utilizing our community resilience and convening power. With the improved domestic development, distinguished intergenerational co-leadership, and the ever-expanding global outreach of the Youth Café, our dream of a youth-led Africa now draws closer every day. Along with our identity as a creative amplifying laboratory, advocating and fostering innovative, impactful, and progressive policies that promote youth participation and engagement at national, regional, and global levels. If you wish to see the young minds of Africa be beacons of leadership in the global community, register as a member of the Youth Café today and help us carry out our tremendous responsibilities from the front line. We welcome you to volunteer or have an internship with us and gain valuable guidance, professional recommendations, and future employment opportunities. You may strengthen our resources by donating books, equipment, and financial sums, or be part of our ecotourism programs and let us lead you through the beautiful ecosystem of our continent. The Youth Café has many more innovative ways for you to play a part in our ambitious initiatives. Visit our website today to learn more.
Our team has worked to make this video as enjoyable and informative as we could. And we hope that this spectacular video was able to provide deeper insight into the work that we do at the Youth Café. I would now like to invite the Senior Research and Project Management Officer, Cynthia Ontita, to give us a brief overview of the project.
Thank you, Malika. Just to give you a brief summary of the project we are working on. Young people in Kenya have inadequate ability and opportunities to make their voices heard and accounted for in relevant policies. Through this particular project, engaging young people in the fight against corruption and closing civic space, a 2-year project funded by Ford Foundation, the Youth Café, in partnership with Open Governance Institute and People Powered, are working on 4 complementary interventions to be able to build the power of young Kenyans to impact government policies, uphold their rights, fight against corruption, and closing civic space. This is done through getting to strengthen evidence-based advocacy for accountability, critical thinking and media skills, and also collaborations among state and youth organizations. These 4 interventions that we are working on include the first one, developing a clear county transparency and accountability rating using data from audit reports and policy frameworks of 2 key economic empowerment programs, one of them being access to government procurement opportunities, also called AGPO, and enterprise funds, commonly referred to as Youth and Uwezo Fund. So from these policy frameworks and audit reports that we use, we believe it will get to provide accessible accountability information and media content on policies which are most relevant for young people. The second intervention, we are deepening media coverage of government devolution and public finance management issues affecting young people. This is by building enhanced critical thinking skills of young people and increasing the access to media opportunities through secure digital platforms and innovations. Thirdly, we are assessing the state of coalitions and potential of governance reform organizations, looking at both the state and non-state actors, working together to synergize and leverage available resources for greater impact on county transparency initiatives. And the fourth intervention, following our COVID-2019 policy, we launched a Lockdown Live, which is a series of webinars aimed at strengthening the meaning of engagement with the youth, amplifying their voice and actions in supporting expansion of civic spaces and advancing civic engagement. As part of the activities in this project, a photo and video competition was held where contestants between the ages of 18 to 35 took part to represent their scenarios of corruption through the photo and video mediums. So why then did we have the photo or video competition? First, it enabled us to take advantage of the interconnectedness we get to enjoy today through technology to be able to inspire corruption storytelling. And secondly, we all know corruption in Kenya has become rampant, and the majority of young people have actually gotten to experience it in different and diverse ways. With the competition, we were able to create awareness, we were able to increase activism, and also get to educate youth to be able to take positive steps towards good governance. Lastly, we were able to learn more about corruption in Kenya through photo and video submissions by seeking representations of people's scenarios in this particular context, and in this context presented in different authentic ways. As much as we believe that the youth are the future leaders, we also believe that youth are the leaders today, and this is actually a very good chance for all youth to join hands in combating corruption. So when coming up with this photo and video competition, we had 5 goals in mind. One of the goals was to create awareness of corruption and the closing civic space in Kenya. We also had the goal of starting conversations on corruption and finding ways to be able to mitigate it. The third goal we had in mind was to reflect on how we would get to contribute to the corruption statistics in Kenya. Another goal was to elevate the voices of the youth in the matter. And lastly, to be able to use art as a creative media to be able to mitigate corruption. So what are our awards for today? For the first position, he or she will be able to receive a sum of $600. The first runners-up will receive $400, and the second runners-up will be able to receive $200. More details on how the competition process occurred will be provided by my colleagues in the course of the ceremony. So stay tuned to be able to get to know who our 3 winners for the awards are. Thank you, and back to you, Malika.
Thank you so much, Cynthia, for that project overview. Now that you mentioned youth engagement, let's move on to the discussion that we all have. Next, planned for you all, we have a Padlet activity where we'd like to know your thoughts on 5 issues. The first one being, what has been your recent experience with corruption? Second, what did you do in that situation? Third, if the situation occurs again, will you do things differently? Fourth, who do you think the young people can work with to fight corruption? And fifthly, how are you fighting corruption in your own small ways right now? One of my colleagues has pasted the link to the Padlet in the chat right now. All you have to do to tell us what you think about these is that you need to click the add comment button under each of these sections and tell us what you think. One of my colleagues will be reading out your answers.
Thank you, Malika. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is David Mugambi. I'm a project researcher at the Youth Café, and I'll be taking you through some of the questions and answers that you have actually put on the Padlet. And before I actually go to the Padlet, I can see some people have actually been writing on the chat section, like Damaris. She's saying that she's having 3 exciting projects that she's been working on. That's Students Acting for Honesty, Integrity, and Equality project that aims at inculcating integrity values in the growing youth. For the Leaders of Today, Tomorrow project that aims to empower young people into upright moral leaders. We work to enhance civic education and reduce voter apathy. And the third one being, I'm also excited because I'm hosting a session on UN Global SDG Youth Summit today at 9 p.m. I'll be speaking on students' role in building open, transparent, accountable, and responsive learning institutions. Yeah, wow, that's very wonderful, Damaris. And we look forward to actually, if we can actually joining you on the summit at 9 p.m. I know it's a little bit late for some of us, but we'll try our best. So you can actually even share the link and we will see what we can do. Technopop4 says, hi, as youth, we need to form a group that will create self-awareness. We need to support and educate each other. But sometimes as youth, we need to get pressurized with people around us. I have an idea and hope you're gonna give me a chance to clarify. Definitely, definitely. At the end of this event, we're gonna have like a question and answer session, Kevin. So we look forward to actually hear what you have to say. So I'm gonna be looking at some of the responses in the Padlet. And towards the question of who do you think the young people can work with to fight corruption? So one of you says they need to work with community organizations and the government. Yeah, that's very, very true. And it's actually very important for youth organizations such as the Youth Café to actually work with marginalized communities, organizations, because they are the ones who actually know what's actually happening on the ground, and they can actually give you all the information of some of the activities that the youth actually participate in. So that's a very important point. So what has been your recent experience with corruption? One of you says you were told to bribe 200,000 so I can get a tender. Wow. Well, these days everyone wants to get entrepreneur. Well, let's hope that this event is actually going to create awareness and for you to, for some of you not to take part in such activities. Before we continue, please ask some of you to please mute yourselves and make sure that there is no one who's talking over you. So Technopop4, please mute yourself. Thank you very much. One of you says, as a leader, I was helping one of my students to get an internship opportunity in a county government, and I was asked to give a token fee in order to get an opportunity. And on what did you do in that situation? You refused to pay the bribe. One of you says the bribe. I don't know if you're saying you actually bribed. I'm saying sorry for that, but maybe you can clarify on that. Now they're saying, I failed to comply. That's very good. If the situation occurs again, will you do things differently? No, I still believe I don't need to bribe. Perfect. So yes, so keep your comments coming in, guys. So we'll be reading them during the event, and let's move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David, for those insightful thoughts, and to all our participants who have been commenting, we'll encourage you to continue doing so. For now, we will move on by stating that at the Youth Café, we make use of culture, arts, and sports to invest in socio-economic stability, support for our youth talent as well, and sustainable development through cultural entrepreneurship and the creative economy, spanning an assortment of creative industries such as music, performing arts, theater, film, video, and photography, amongst others. Up next, we will play you a song by a group of young, talented artists from Karidoangi, who we work with to create videos that convey the feelings and opinions of young people on the negative effects of corruption. The song is titled Vijana Hawawera, roughly translating to young people do not have jobs. You can take it away.
There is a culture that has come in Kenya today called the Sonkonization culture. What is Sonkonization? Sonkonization is the acquisition of material wealth in ways that are unknown and unfathomable. And once they are so acquired, they are distributed with object abundance regardless to where they are going.
Favron Beats Entertainment.
Vijana wana wera. Mawera zilipewa mafadhela madosha dema. Vijana wana wera. Mawera zilipewa mafadhela madosha dema. Vijana wana wera.
Leo nabonga nimejisunda kwa kitu na mabuda. Nataka nijibonge kawa jinga ya kaka. Ufisadi choni kitu na dhulumu duniani. Jujeshi na tupona ni masuti na ganzi. Ati mwizi bado mizi na tuperemba na suti. Ni juzi tu nilikupea kura, si ni juzi tu nilikuuza sura. Sai kwa Benz nikitami unatupigia mabozi. Na ngozi menyoka kama Angelina Jolie.
We elect thieves, we elect hyenas. And when our ships are lost, we wonder why.
Vijana wana wera. Mawera zilipewa mafadhela madosha dema. Vijana wana wera. Jina ni didaski, ofisadi na nifanya minalia. Debuda ni bazenga ninjinia na nia. Nataka kutujengea manjia. Masomo bado alitoka nilbila kupita kemia. Historia na bado biolojia. Lipatanga sufuri kwa mamia. Kumba lipitisho familia kwa dirisha. Corruption ni jinsia, nesia na wika. Na venye na duwinda na maliza. Maskini anatupwa kwenye giza na giza. Na pigwa na nyima na fichoka kisima. Na pigwa na sitima. Domana mina kam na kuja nimejawa na gas. Mina gas, corruption mina gas. Na konda kuigas na kurivasi ya vas. Rest in peace, corruption in my pass. Vijana wana wera. Mawera zilipewa mafadhela madosha dema. Vijana wana wera.
Vijana ni kubaki wakibaki. Manjege wakishika tuma mwaki. Wakoro wakilia walibaki. Mayuth wana wera wana viti bila haki. Kava yetu jo fanya haki. Wakati mafadhela wanatunga tumambonya na makaki. Kitu watu vitambi wakikula kule taki. Bako za kucheza tuna pesa wakitupa tumalaki. Corrupt inafanya mina bonda nikitema tusitaki. Sipati wakati anti-corrupt pia si wapati. Wakikata pesa katikati. Umoja ni umoja na vijana tutangoja. Na ukweli tutangoja kama mtafanya haki.
Wow, that was an amazing performance with a strong message. The combination of the right lyrics, rhythm, and instruments can build a group identity, stir strong emotions, engage audiences, and amass people to take action. This makes music the perfect partner for social change. Thank you so much for that transcendent piece. Let us now hear from some of our participants on their views about corruption in Kenya and their possible solutions. I'd now like to request for the videos of the participants talking about their efforts in combating corruption to be played.
Hi, my name is Elsie Rose. I'm a student at Egerton University pursuing Bachelor of Science in Statistics. I am 21 years old and I run a small business. I sell clothes within the campus and I've always been passionate about governance. So I saw the photo video competition on Instagram, and since I've always been passionate about governance, I decided that maybe I can use it as a platform to express myself. I was so excited when I heard that I was nominated as one of the 14 people. I hope that my photo will make a change, and I hope that I will win. Personally, I think that governance is the source of success or failure of any entity, be it a business or a country. And in this country, I feel like we need more youth in leadership positions. I feel like they'll be able to understand what we go through as the youth, since the youth take up majority of the population of this country. I think it will be very nice.
Greetings from Kisumu. I'm Emmanuel Opio, lead writer for Kimeu. It's a great pleasure to be amongst the 14 finalists for the Youth Café competition, photo and video competition. One thing that inspired me to begin the journey with Kimeu was the need to bring forth integrity and accountability in governance. And the reason why I write is to build conversations around integrity and accountability, and strengthening governance to ensure it is accountable to the people. Yes, thank you so much.
Hi everyone, my name is Evelyn Kioko, a student at Maseno University, pursuing international relations and diplomacy with IT. I'm very happy to have been selected as a finalist in the photo and video competition at the Youth Café. I think we Kenyans are the ones who can stop bad leaders. We can stop bad governance. This is by promoting voter education and electing leaders who have clear manifestos on development agendas. We can do better. We can change Kenya. We can promote good governance. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Boniface Monene. I'm a civil engineering technician at Double Infinity Construction Company and a photographer with my firm as Big M Photography. I had participated in Youth Café video and photo competition, and I was lucky and to be nominated as top 14 finalist, and I'm looking forward to be at the top. I'm really happy for the opportunity to showcase my art and help in curbing corruption in our nation. And I believe that one of the leadership issues that needs to be highlighted in our nation is corruption.
My name is Kia Edwin, a Kenyan and also a graduate, 27 years of age. I'm a graduate with a bachelor degree in business management and also a youth who has always championed for good governance in the society where I come from. I felt good when I received the email that I have been nominated in this year awards concerning the competition that we had participated earlier, and I felt good that my effort has been recognized, as a champion in the society, sensitizing the community on good governance, also corruption, And one thing that I will change, concerning good governance, inclusivity, where the voices of those people from the grassroots level can be heard. Also try to shun corruption, that it is everywhere in Kenya, educating the society on the effect of corruption, and also trying to sensitize the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those enlightening messages from all of those participants who were in those videos. Moving on, we'll be having another round of Padlet activity. I would like us all to have an opportunity, an open and honest discussion on what we think as young people. What we can do to leverage our numbers, skills, and talents to actively participate in the fight against corruption. Please feel free to raise your hand firstly by clicking on the reaction prompt on the bottom right of your screen. You're also welcome to share your thoughts through the function which is being monitored by our team. And also kindly note that this is a safe and inclusive platform. We are all learning, and every thought counts. I will just first go on to read a couple of the comments from the Padlet. Firstly, what can we do? We need to work with community organizations and governments. That is definitely true. We also need to stand up and shame people who have, people in leadership who have actively taken part in corruption as well. People do need to be exposed, and I think that part of it is our involvement as youth and also as media. I'd just like to see if there's anyone who has raised their hand as yet. To comment. You can unmute yourself. I don't know if there might be anyone who is willing to open up their mic. And okay. We have one hand so far. I'm just looking for maybe one or two more if possible. Okay, I will start with Emmanuel Opio. I'll just give you the opportunity to speak and you can make your remarks in this regard. Thank you.
Yes, hi everybody. It's nice to be here. I guess one major highlight young people need to address is being part of the process, the political process. I think one of the reasons why we have been left behind is because we have chosen to stay away from the political process. And the political process is currently the only way we can voice our concerns and sit on the table. So I think one great contributor is for us young people to step up, and build the momentum and be part of the political process. Yes, Asante.
All right, thank you. We will then take comment from, is it Unike Kiribu? Excuse me if I am mispronouncing your name, you may correct me, but you're welcome to just give us a brief insight on what you think as well. Thank you.
Okay, hello everyone. This is Unike Kerubo. One way where the young can fight against corruption is through accessing to information. If they access the information, they'll have the knowledge on how to fight for corruption. Like from the county I'm coming from, whereby we have been fighting corruption. So the first thing we started to fight corruption is about accessing all the government resources in terms of how the resources have been used in those counties. Another thing I'll say that in terms of accessing to information, first of all, you have to know what do you want to access. You don't access everything. You must be specific. What do you want to access? And another thing, after accessing, what do you want to do with that information you have accessed? So for better services so that we can get the good governance, lack of the knowledge in these informations sometimes cannot make us to fight corruption in any of our counties. like one of the county, I can give an example. We have some of the social accountability. Hello. Okay, we have some of the social accountability tools we are supposed to use in order to fight corruption. Like, for example, when we want to fight corruption, sometimes we can scrutinize each of the projects. Like there's a county in Nyamira County, whereby we were scrutinizing some of the projects. From scrutinizing these projects, we came out that according to the projects which were implemented on the ground, there was no value for money. So from this, we write some of the petition to the county assembly, and also we wrote some of the petition to the Senate. The case is ongoing because our petitions was targeting the governor of Nyamira County, who is now the late Nyagarama. And for now, I think through fighting of the corruption is also a challenge, because you fight corruption and others will see you that you are finger pointing, others will see you that you are just negative, everything as a civil society organization, you are becoming a negative. So as a young youth, I think before we fight corruption, we must have that knowledge and also access full information, so that we can fight these big giants of corruption. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kerubu. We will move on to Mr. Boniface. Also, colleagues, I'd just like to remind you that once you have spoken, may you kindly just go back to the reaction and then also lower your hand as well, just so that we don't repeat who has already spoken. But you may move on next, Mr. Boniface. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Boniface Monene. I'm from Meru, working with Tukuze Africa Foundation. It's a STEM-based foundation. I have done civil engineering. So I believe that youth, we have numbers, but we are not able to use the same numbers to support our initiative and to move forward. I have one of the issues with some of our youth, whereby they have got to the system of corruption. And I was working in a project in Meru, the Meru Sewerage Program. It is undertaken by the Kenyan government under the African Development Bank. And I was part of the surveying team, but I have done civil engineering, so I could really see a lot of malpractices in the project, whereby I was asking the engineer who was in charge, like, why are we taking all these shortcuts, whereas this is a major program that that might cause problems later in the project or as people leave. Okay, the contractor is not, okay, I'm not trying to be tribal, but I was taking it in a way that he took it because he's from a different county or a different location. They are taking out the program. We had a problem with the employment rate, whereby the community that has the project is given at least 70% of the employment. But in this case, it was a really different scenario. And then when I asked about the same, I was told that you work on your department, the surveying work, and then the engineering work, you leave to the people who are supposed to do the same. After that, I found a pipe which was broken, and it was actually it was backfilled. So backfill ni ile kufunika na mchanga. So that means that part was full and done. So when I asked about the same, I was called actually for a disciplinary meeting, whereby I was asked if I have any problem with the project. And I told them that not that I have a problem with the project, but it's because that I want the project to go as it is supposed to go, because the people will start suffering once the program is opened. I was then, okay, one of the young people, actually all of them were young, apart from one who was a little bit old. And then he told me that pahali ambapo unaona mtu anakulia, usiingilie na usicheze na kazi ya mtu. So I asked him, kucheza na kazi ya mtu ni kusema watu wafanye kitu mbaya. Like you can do something wrong just because you're eating from there. We just leave you to eat and continue. So I believe that we as young people, we should support ourselves. We should be at least a little bit more ethical and in supporting actually those who are in front line. I remember King Kaka actually did a really good job because many young people listen to the song more than maybe listening to news or maybe going for forums that talk about corruption. And I believe that through our talent and skills that we have, we can move a little bit more further than we are. And through talent, I believe that we can move faster than any other way. Because like, say for example, someone like Omanyara right now, if he starts now talking about corruption, many people will listen to him because he's on the limelight right now. So I believe that we can use our numbers and we can use our power to fight corruption. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Boniface. Okay, just a reminder, colleagues, that we also have to, as an interest of time, we also have to be as brief as we possibly can, just so that we can have enough contribution to the conversation. But we will then quickly move on to Maureen. Maureen, you may take it away.
Okay, thank you. I'm Maureen Odiambo. I come from Busia. One thing I can say about youth fighting corruption is as youth, let us organize ourselves. Let us fighting corruption. You must have power. And for you to have power, we must be very much into politics. Let us fight for these political positions. No one is entitled to those positions. As youth, let us embrace those positions, fight for those positions, because it's through those positions that we are going to get powers, and through powers, you can do anything with it. But if we say that we can just be talking about how we can end corruption, just mere talkings, it won't change anything. Let us get ourselves into those leadership positions. It's only through that, when you are in a leadership position, when you have power, you can influence any change in the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll then move on to Techno Part 4. I just want to remind you, colleagues, that once you're done speaking, you may lower your hand. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, this is Kevin from Nairobi. Actually talking about how to end corruption. It's not that easy job, it's not that easy work, because youth are very, youth, we are the stronghold of the country. So when we're talking about to end corruption, we must start with our leaders, because those leaders are the same people who are coming to blackmail us. And from what I know, the youth, they love money. Let me just be honest. We really love money. So if we say that we can't do without money, we are lying. So for us to fight corruption, we need to end this saga of loving money. For example, I want to tell you, once upon a time, like, let me say like 1 year ago, I was working with one of the missionary school, and this school was led by one of the famous pastor in Kenya. So because of the security, I won't mention his name. So at a time, sometimes you get that this missionary are coming and they support these kids, they support these pupils. It was a primary school actually. They support these kids, they offer capital, they offer food. So, but at a time you get that the owner of this school or the person who is in charge of this school, it comes at times he doesn't want people to engage with those missionaries. Why? Because he knows that these people will set him up. That's the corruption. So what I did, because it was not good and it was a Christian school, so what I did, I went ahead and approached the chief of that area and told him of what was going on. So instead of chief helping me, the chief went ahead and told the owner of that school what I've told him. So it brought chaos and I was fired. So you see how the corruption, how the chief, also the leaders, people who we believe that they can help us, they make and wanafanya corruption endelea, in short. Okay, so in short, what I want to say is that to end this corruption, we must start with our leaders. And for us, we also need to buy for seats so that we can talk for ourselves. Because if you don't have money, you don't have power, you know? And if you have money, you have power. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you very much, Kevin, for your insights. I will then move on to Nehemiah. If you could briefly also just give in your insights as well. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. My name is Nehemiah Kipserem from Kenya. And I just have a few comments from this question discussion, that how can young people leverage their numbers? And I believe that we have numbers as young people in Kenya, but there is a point in time where we talk about, I don't know where the problem is, I can hear myself.
Yes, there is a slight echo.
There is a slight echo, yeah, sure. Now, let me continue that how we can leverage these numbers. Numbers, yes, we have, but the problem is the coming together, the regional coordination, the national coordination, and also the vision. Now, I want to challenge all these young people that are listening right now. We can talk of all the cases that we have seen. We have come across different cases of corruption. We have heard of but I will talk about, I will challenge the youth to come together so that even under this platform such as the Youth Café, we can come together and work with issues that we have had. For example, the one with Boniface and the issue in Nyamira and the issue with this friend of mine who just spoke before me. That we can start with such cases and deal with them instead of thinking the other things that are coming, so that as a team, we can be hard and we can deal with issues one by one. Moving to skills, we might have skills as young people. For example, you might know how to deal with technology, or you are an ICT people. Right now, we are working on a project that is going to reduce corruption cases to a tune of 80% in the Republic of Kenya in a few years. And that is the projects we need to ask young people to work towards them. But keeping in mind that the main point that is on the ground is the lack of opportunities in the country, that when we focus in young people getting the job, so that tomorrow we are not broke, or we don't have what we call the funds. Even Youth Café, for this project to run, you need a fund, right? And therefore, even the young people, in order to move so that we can fight, we need funds, or we need that small amount of money that is going to keep you running. The other thing about the talents, that the talents of the young people, you and I are talented in one way or the other. If the young people today can use their talents to focus on fighting this corruption passionately, and mark my words, passionately, I believe that the best is yet to come. Because if you are a musician, because you have heard of examples like King Kaka, we have hired so many other people, even on Twitter, on Facebook, but they are hiding behind the keyboard. Why? Because of the effect of speaking out, effect of whistleblowing. That what is the consequence of my whistleblowing? What do I have? What will I gain? The young people have not seen the gain. Yeah, when they whistleblow, what do they gain? The gain is death of their family member, or you can be killed, you can be warned, you can be fired. What is Youth Café now doing? Right? So we need to challenge the groups like us now, these groups, that when we move forward, we ask you, the Youth Café and other people, we come together and focus on the growth. I like what you have done in awarding the first three winners. I believe if they are passionate enough, that is the first step that we are going to take to focus on fighting this corruption, because at least they will have some amount of money to run 1, 2, or 3 in fighting this corruption. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best, and I wish all of us the best towards this success. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for your insight there. We will just move on to two last comments from two of the participants. I'll have Damaris Aswa make her comment first, and then we'll move on to Evelyn as the last speaker. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think my president has really poured everything that I wanted to say, but one thing I wanted to add on is that, yes, we have the numbers, but you know, working in silos is also a challenge. So if I were the one, I would really advocate for youth to just come together, build synergies around the issue that we really want to tackle, because even having these numbers and we don't even have synergies is a problem. And you know, right now, as we're speaking in Kenya, we are approaching general election. And a research has been conducted, and majority of the people who have been pointed out is us youth, that we're being targeted as vulnerable during this political period. And why? Because I think we're putting ourselves in that situation where we can be used easily, we can be bribed by just 50 shillings. You can be able to just do things that are contrary to the values that are being advocated for, values of integrity. So I would say this, even youth ourselves, we also need to find, what can I do? What is my role in the fight against corruption? What am I doing myself before even I bring on board my fellow colleagues? It should start from self. I should be a person of integrity myself before even I start building synergies with others. I should also be someone who sits down and reflect on self-accountability. You know, we will still continue to be speaking about corruption day in, day out, when we as youth, we really love money. One of the speakers mentioned that. We love money and we love shortcuts. When will we understand that we can be able to get this money we really want to, we are really wanting so much in shortcuts? We can really get it through proper channels, you know? So I would really, really wish if youth can be able to have self-integrity, self-accountability, and just build and leverage on the numbers that we have. You know, even right now, if you see the social media, majority of the people who are using social media right now are youth. And if you want to voice out something through social media, youth can easily do that. Why can't we leverage on these platforms? Because we already, as you've already mentioned there on the question, we have numbers. Why can't we even use this social media to just advocate for for the values that we want, the fight against corruption? Why can't we just award integrity icons and champions in our communities? You know, but you know, you find most of us as youth, when we go on social media, we are part of the team who are celebrating really the ills in the community, instead of just being a voice to the voiceless and standing up against it. We fear, and we're like, okay, if I stand up against this, what will they say? What will my leader say? And I also echo one of the speakers who has just mentioned that there's something that is eating us up, and that is lack of confidentiality, and then the protection of the whistleblowers. Because a youth will say, okay, if I whistle blow, I might be killed, you know, by these politicians or leaders in our community. So there's a lot of structures and a lot of strategies that we really need to sit down and work on. But at the same time, we also need to leverage and build synergies around our numbers as youth, because we can really do this. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Lastly, we can have Evelyn. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Eve Madhai, and I lead two governance initiatives, that is Follow the Money Kenya and KE Budget Talk, which is a platform for budget advocacy. So I'd just like to implore the youth in Kenya and across Africa to start being proactive as opposed to being reactive, by choosing leaders of integrity. We are fast approaching the next general elections for Kenya, and as you know, politicians really use youth at this particular time. So I don't expect and I discourage the youth to participate in sponsored hashtags that can be very destructive, especially to democracy and good governance. We also don't, I expect not to see youth re-electing leaders who have been grossly implicated in corruption scandals, because I mean, they've already proved incapable of being good custodians of public resources. So please, let's try and choose leaders of integrity. And I also like what someone has said in the group chat, I think it was Owen, about a nation trapped under fear can never move forward. We cannot continue to allow a handful of legislators to hold the general population at ransom. We have the power to kick these guys out. And getting handouts during elections is not a sustainable way to fend for yourself. We need people who are going to put in proper structures to ensure that we have favorable or good service delivery moving forward and for all. And then also, we need to encourage the youth to mobilize and organize themselves. We can't continue to allow our leaders, or like I like to refer to them as misleaders, to continue being the ones who are organizing us. We can do it ourselves. We have power in numbers. And as soon as we get a hold of this, I think we'll start to see a lot of changes. And then also we need to be very proactive when it comes to taking part in public participation processes. I myself have been making a habit of attending several of them, and I see that it's not done in a meaningful manner. For instance, you'll find people coming to the public participation forum having not had even looked at the policy document. So you wonder, what are you coming to discuss? We need to start making a habit of reading these planning and budget documents for us to be able to contribute in a meaningful manner. And then also, we need to hold our leaders to account. Those who have been caught in frivolous activities or scandalous projects should not be given any audience. You don't expect us to gather around for a rally for someone who has been stealing our national coffers. And then also we need to recognize youth who are actively engaged in trying to curb or spread against corruption scandals. So those are my points. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Evan. I also want to thank you to all of those who had comments and insights. I just want to read one comment here on the chat box. From Emmanuel Opio, young people must believe in their ability to shape the future. The way to shape the future is attached to the political process. We must begin to advocate for new models that are sustainable and pro-youth. Corruption in political processes stem from lack of accountability tools in parties. Also, just briefly want to lastly say that one thing I believe youth can also assist in tackling is tackling tribalism and racism in terms of using it to get unfair political gains in our countries. That is also an issue that I think Africans in general face. So I'd like to just move on to my colleague Malika, and we just want to thank you once more again for everyone's insights and comments.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing such important views and ideas on how we can effectively combat corruption. I've just been reading through all the comments and just listening to you people as well. I feel like it's very important now to end this vicious cycle of corruption, and it's time to give the people the power to keep check on the people in power. So thank you so much for giving us all this useful your ideas, and we hope to translate them into action very soon. Now, let me give you a brief background on the timeline of this competition as we move forward. The entries were judged by professionals in the fields of photography, journalism, public relations, as well as social leaders who recommended winning entries to the Youth Café. Photographs were judged on relevance to the contest theme, the power of the message, creativity, technical quality, and suitability for presentation to an international audience. And if necessary, the selected photographs were edited, and the decisions of the Youth Café and the partners were final. You will be pleased to note that the photo and video contest reached over 500,000 young people and attracted hundreds of entries. And from those entries, 14 entrants were selected to proceed to the final stage. And on that note, I would now read out the name of all the shortlisted participants. They were Damaris Aswa, Nehemiah Kipseren, Anthony Kariuki, Brian Odhiambo, Elsie Odur, Kelvin Ogola, Emmanuel Omulo, Boniface Munene, Maureen Odhiambo, Rose Ongayo, Evelyn Kiyoko, Edwin Kea, Viviana Makale, and Michael Juma. We wish to sincerely thank you all for taking part in this competition and sharing your voices with us. All of your contributions are extremely invaluable to us, and we also want to acknowledge the work of all the entrants who are not in the list. It does not mean your work is not seen. We see you, and we encourage you to continue fighting this menace with your work. Congratulations to you all. In addition, the top 3 winners, as mentioned earlier, will receive the following awards, which are the first place of $600, the second place $400, and the third place $200. Now the moment we've all been waiting for. The top 3 winners were, in third place, we have Boniface Munene. Boniface has seen great potential in youth, especially those he has had the opportunity to work with. He has seen firsthand how corruption has affected the lives of youth in his community. Boniface believes that this competition is a key information delivery idea to help youth fight corruption in a creative way. He says that we have come to a point where corruption cases are published every day, yet no one is being held accountable. Every day, we get a new case and forget all the past cases. Calling for action to these cases and helping Kenyans see the return of stolen billions. Boniface takes action by talking to high school students on integrity and how integrity will be of benefit today and in future when they become national leaders. Additionally, whenever he's in public places and hears people talk about corruption, he takes the opportunity to engage with them on how they can improve the integrity of their nation. Boniface says that I have once been given a chance for a scholarship, but through corruption, I was unable to grab the opportunity as I was asked for a bribe. If Boniface wins the award, he will improve his new studio. This will help him create more creative images to educate and earn a living. He would also like to venture into editorial photography, and this award will really help give him a start. Congratulations, Boniface. Now, the second place goes to Brian Odhiambo. Brian is deeply enthusiastic about eradicating corruption in Kenya. Corruption is a systemic vice that is acquired as one joins administrative duties, mostly in the public service, propagated by the dysfunctional nature of anti-corruption institutions. To solve and penalize corruption cases makes corrupt individuals become immune. Hence, the vice becomes the order. Brian believes the right way is to start recognizing heroic integrity and honest acts to motivate clean ethical records. Brian says that I have been a victim of corruption by being locked out of an enumerator position because I couldn't bribe my way to the job. I felt very bitter and detached from this country at that point because my dreams crashed after high expectations. From then, I never had confidence in government services, although some work, but others are dysfunctional because of corruption. I feel pain when our country tolerates mediocrity. Corruption through mega scandals such as KEMSA scam put us in bad taste by showing international benefactors and funders that we don't mean business when it comes to development agendas and all we want is to steal generational money. If Brian wins the award, he would invest in professional audiovisual music with lyrical content condemning corruption since he's a performing rapper. The songs would also be melodious for the likeness of those who don't pay attention to lyrics, and the end result is for the songs to be catchy and educative. Congratulations, Brian. And now for the first place, drum roll please, is Damaris Aswa. Damaris is a community integrity building ambassador. She's actively engaged in fighting corruption through behavioral change among the youth as they are leaders of tomorrow. She has successfully trained over 100 teachers and over 1,500 students on community integrity building. And through her initiative, over 50 infrastructure and service projects have been successfully monitored to completion. Some stalled projects have so far been revived as these monitors hold various duty bearers accountable. Damaris is currently training social accountability youth committees on accountability during the COVID-19 pandemic. She's keen on determining how government initiatives such as cash transfers, relief food, and the reopening of schools have been and are being conducted. Damaris says that the outbreak of COVID-19 brought forth lots of challenges. The government initiated some projects to cushion its vulnerable citizens. Example, by instituting cessation of movement, curfews, etc. which have highly been violated. Other noble initiatives are the Kazi Kwa Vijana initiative, food relief, and cash transfers. I happened to volunteer in the distribution of relief food, and it was disappointing that integrity didn't take its course. In short, it didn't reach quite a good number of the intended beneficiaries due to corruption. Now that Damaris has won the award, she said that she will dedicate the funds to the Integrity Project, which is SHINE, and increase the level of activity and interaction with hundreds of students on accountability. That means that increased lessons and practicals will be organized for the students and facilitate learning. The integrity clubs through the project will also be strengthened through these awards. Congratulations to all of you, and congratulations to all the participants who submitted their entries. It was really difficult to select the finalists. You all are doing wonderful and important work in your respective fields, and on that note, all the participants will receive a certificate of recognition for your efforts via email. I would now like to invite the keynote speaker, Samuel Kimeu, who is the Executive Director of Africa's Voices Foundation and former Executive Director of Transparency International Kenya since 2010. He previously served as a governance specialist at the Embassy of Finland in Nairobi and the Executive Director of the Kenyan section of International Commission of Jurists. He has also taught law at the Kenyatta University School of Law in Nairobi, and he's an advocate of the High Court of Kenya and a member of both the Law Society of Kenya and the East African Law Society. He holds a Master's of Law degree in International Human Rights from the University of Notre Dame in Indiana, USA, and he received his Bachelor's of Law degree from the University of Nairobi. Mr. Kimeu is currently serving as an elected member of the African Union Advisory Board on Corruption and since August 2019, and the Board of Transparency International since October 2017. It's an honor to have you with us, sir. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Malika, and good afternoon, everyone. Congratulations to Maureen and to the others who have won this competition. It's always a pleasure to have your efforts recognized. But maybe that's where I should start to say that when it comes to the fight against corruption, it's quite a rarity, and therefore you should count yourself quite, privileged to receive that honor. Otherwise, the other bit that usually accompanies those who fight is the uncertainties around your safety. But I think the overall reward for engaging in the fight against corruption is the investment we make in the current and the future of our society, the future of our children, that they can live in a society that is better than we are in at the moment. I know I have about 10-15 minutes in order to make my remarks, and I'll try and stick to those 15 minutes. But first, let me just introduce Africa's Voices, which is the organization that I work for currently. And because I have seen a lot of convergence between what many of you are doing and what Africa's Voices does and stands for. At Africa's Voices, we create platforms of engagement between policymakers, leaders, and the citizens. And we do this using a combination of radio or mass media broadcast, primarily radio. We combine that with the SMS shortcodes, where we ask citizens to respond to questions or give their views on a topic of interaction that is going on in a radio show. And then we harness that and analyze the data using the conventional social science analysis methods to pretty much understand what citizens are thinking about a particular topic. So you might want to see it as a research product, but we see it primarily as a governance space because it creates platforms for engagement. So you must think about it as the taking from the physical space, the town hall meetings, the church meetings, and similar physical meetings into the mass media space, where you amplify the number of people who can participate in a conversation and have their data analyzed. Having done that, I think the subject that brings us here today is one of corruption. And it's not a surprise that we are concerned about corruption today in this country. And for apologies to those who are not based in Kenya, because most of my perspectives will be based on the Kenyan experience, even though my remarks can be applied generally across the board. If you think about corruption as the abuse of entrusted power for private gain, then you must immediately realize that this country and Africa generally has a problem of corruption, and a big one at that. This problem has grown in leaps and bounds since the colonial times, through independence to today, when you can say on average, many African countries have been independent for close to 50 years or thereabouts. So for 50 years, we have seen this grow to a level where now it threatens our very existence as nations, as states, and undermines fundamentally our ability as a continent to progress and meet the basic necessities of our people. I will reflect a bit on what I see the youth doing and what they could do in the fight against corruption. And there's hardly anything new that I will say beyond what has been said by many of you who have spoken here before. The first point to make, of course, regarding the youth is that you are the majority. The youth in Kenya, in East Africa, in the African continent are actually the majority. And they are the majority by an overwhelming number. So those who are 35 years and below, whichever way you go, through a vote, through any count, they are the majority. So what that means is that those who are in the minority, like myself, in a context that involves numbers, we are completely outnumbered. We stand no chance whatsoever. Now, what does that mean for our societies? What it means is that the youth really have to take their prime of place in the management of our affairs. And not just in the management of our affairs, but in the agitation for better governance. You have the numbers, you have the stake. You clearly have the highest stake in a well-governed society. In any case, you have longer to live than me and those who are in the minority space. So the current and the future pretty much belongs to you, and you must play your role in shaping it. I think secondly, unlike our generation and the generations before, you are imbued with knowledge and intellect that many of us didn't quite get through education. So there were people who have gone before us who they didn't have the chances that you have today. You also have technology on your side, and you have the falling down of the boundaries and the collapsing of the world into a global village to your advantage, which means you can connect in ways that my generation and the generations before were not able to do that. And then I would say you are the least invested in corruption and other societal ills. This is not to say that you don't have youth who are corrupt. They are there. But what I know is that the track record even of those who engage in corruption, the youth, is very short compared to those who are on the other side of the divide. And you have the least interest in maintaining the status quo. I think the future is more for you than the past. So you must contend for that future that is driven by values and good governance. You also have the energy and the time and the headspace to engage in corruption activities. And to your benefit, you are more receptive to social change and political transformation. But having said that, let me just get a few things out of the way, because I have listened to a number of people, youth and non-youth, speak about the place of youth. And the first thing is to confuse, youth with innocence and integrity. I think there's nothing that can be far from the truth, even though I have just said that even those who are corrupt, they have a shorter track record than anyone else. I'll be the one to admit that questions of integrity are questions of values and a value system, as opposed to youth, which is a function of age and the passage of time. The age and the passage of time in and of itself cannot be the asset that you have when it comes to the fight against corruption. So you must deliberately then turn the benefit of your youth into a quest for advocating for better governance and a value system that you can be proud of. Having said that, I think I have seen the many things that people are doing, and I've listened to the excellent work that is being done by youth who have spoken or posted on the chat. There's clearly agitation on the part of the youth. There's an increase, youth are increasingly speaking about corruption. But I dare propose that you can actually do more than you are doing at the moment. And why do I say that? When I talk about the numbers that you command, it is a pity that we still have the problems that we are having today in the society, because you have the capacity to change that. But for you to do that, you need to work together, you need to reach out to one another, and you need to act in solidarity with one another. And you need to be courageous. I know that that subject has been mentioned a few minutes ago, but you'll never get anything done unless you have the courage to do it. And in terms of the courage, someone said that you can never discover new islands until you have the courage to lose the sight of shore. And I know that the threats that are always used are against personal harm or harm against people who are close to you, arrests and so on and so forth. But I can assure you those should not be any discouragement whatsoever. And if you find yourself in the crosshairs of our system, chances are that you're doing something that is impactful. So get going with it, but don't go in it alone. Reach out to others so that people know when you get into trouble, and their solidarity can get you out of trouble. I say this because today I just saw that a couple of young people have been convicted for agitating for a piece of land that is clearly belongs to a police post in Kitengela. And these young ones have actually been convicted and will have been a fine of, I think, 50,000 has been imposed against them. And in the absence of that, I think 3 years imprisonment. I think it's a small price to pay. And I do know that the Kenyan youth and the Kenyan people will rally around these people and pay that, even as the legal battles to ensure that we protect the integrity of our public spaces continues. I think we've also heard of denunciations, which must then, the voices must be louder than before. Again, using the technology that I have just mentioned, you can be heard far and wide, and do not underestimate your voice. And when you see the youth acting in an issue, whether it is the Kitengela land or whatever other issue they have to be agitating against, add your voice to it. It might be a tweet, it might be a post that you make via video, it might be that you contribute some money, 100 shillings, 50 shillings, 1,000 here and there to support colleagues in agitating for change, but be counted among the numbers. But also provide information. I think I did hear also a number here talking about how they have gone about accessing information in the counties and how financial resources are managed, and use that information to agitate for accountability. That is excellent. And again, we can do more, because one of the things that you realize is in deficit in this country is the truth, and particularly official truth. You know, information about how money is spent, who is employed in what position, and on what merit, are struggles that we will continue to experience, particularly because we've come from a history of Official Secrets Act, where everything that is done in the name of government is secret, where newspapers would be stamped confidential, secret and confidential, and you will not be able to access it even if you are the one who brought it from the streets. So that is a bit of an extreme example I'm giving, not fiction, actually a reality, but then it colors the way information is provided in this country. Granted that we have an Access to Information Act, granted that we have a constitution that provides for access to information, we do know that the space for accessing information is pretty difficult, and we have to continue pushing for access to information, and we have to continue using the information we access to package it in a way that it translates into knowledge, and knowledge in action for the masses in this country, not just the youth, but also other segments and sectors of the society. So providing information becomes very important. But as you realize, information in and of itself is not enough. You need to use that information to mobilize the masses, mobilize your fellow youth and the masses against corruption. There is no one, I am yet to see people who will stand up in a podium, even our politicians and those who engage in corruption, the high priests of corruption in this country. None will stand up and say that corruption is good. In any case, they stand up to say that they don't support corruption, because they do know that that is the way it should be. But we must hold them to account when they say this and still continue to engage in corruption. I know that the youth in this country, in the region, on the continent and globally, have used some tools to try and mobilize and inform each other. You know, you have integrity camps, or democracy camps for that matter. You have summer schools that teach the knowledge and the mechanics of anti-corruption. We've developed the curriculums to educate people and students within the school system about corruption. We've also even set up integrity clubs in many learning institutions. There are many awareness raising campaigns that we have engaged in that have targeted, you know, young people and people who are in school. But that in of itself is not enough. We need to, and I'm just now concluding, noting, of course, that I don't have much time left. But in terms of what needs to be done going forward, I want to basically say that one of the issues that I find most important for us to engage with is the question of the debt question. The debt question is an important one that we need to engage with. There is a lot of misinformation about the debt in this country. Anyone in government today will tell you we are within our borrowing limits and we are not anywhere near busting it. But is that the truth? You know, we must not take anything we are told as face value. We must invest the knowledge and the intellect that we have and the tools that we can develop to analyze this information, generate knowledge that is objective and shared with the public. And I challenge you to, for those of you who can, to take time and look at our debt question. And I can tell you that in my previous position as Executive Director of Transparency International Kenya, I raised the question of debt about 6 years ago. At that point in time, the levels of debt we were almost at half of where we are today. And at that point, it never gained traction. Over the years, it's gaining traction, but still, there are many who will not see the relationship between the debt, the university fees crisis that we are experiencing today, the fuel costs that we are experiencing now, the high cost of living that is escalating as we move on, and the very hard economic times that are going to be experienced now in the future. In fact, the next couple of years are going to be quite difficult for this country. And the youth will have less and less opportunities than I got and many people in my generation got. And in fact, those who are coming after you will have lesser opportunities, because the cost of the cost that or the premium that you get through good governance has diminished over time. And what we are getting are losses, basically deficits that translate into less education subsidies, fewer access to education loans, poor access to medical services, and so on and so forth. And I think many people and our leaders today will tell you about our infrastructure. And infrastructure is good, and it must, however, it must be done within the limits of what we can afford at any one particular time. And this is not really to criticize the infrastructure projects that have been done. I think we have an infrastructure deficit that needs to be plugged, not just in Kenya, but across East Africa and Africa as a whole. There is a lot that needs to be done. But how long or within what timeframes can we do it without putting into jeopardy our own existence as going concerns, if I may use that phrase borrowed from the private sector. It's also been said that you need to mobilize for leaders of integrity in the next elections. And I want to give you a specific charge in this. If next year, in September, you wake up and find yourself with leaders who have distinguished themselves in theft of public resources, leaders who have cases pending in court, leaders who have cases may not even be theft of money, but even rape cases, criminal cases, then I think we will not escape blame. Because again, you've remembered, I have told you that the numbers you have are such that you can transform this country, but you need to synergize and reach out to one another. And you might ask me, does that mean that we have to have uniform thoughts? I would say no. Should we belong to one political party? I would say no. But we can agree on minimums as the youth and say that for anyone who comes seeking our vote, whether it is on party A, party B, or party Z, they must meet this minimum criteria. And let me just tell you what that criteria might be. I think anyone who has ongoing cases in the courts is not qualified for election. And I think this is a position that I have articulated over and over again. The politicians don't agree because they think that it's too high a standard. And I'd like to tell you, in case you believe them, that you are wrong. Anyone who has not been convicted of an offense does not mean they are people of integrity. It simply means that the courts have not found them guilty of any offense. But remember, we are not looking to apportion guilt or innocence, because that is the preserve of criminal law. And the purpose of criminal law is to apportion, guilt and innocence for purposes of punishment. And I think that is important. When it comes to leadership, we can never use that same standard to say that if you have not been convicted, even if you have 1,000 criminal cases against you, then you are a person of integrity. Na wewe ni mweupe kama pamba. I think we must shun that thinking, and I would like to charge you to popularize that thought, because it's the right thought, it's the right thing to do. But our politicians are very good at gatekeeping to make sure that new values do not seep into our society and they can continue benefiting. And here I want to tell you something that I was told to my face in 2011 when we were putting together the Leadership and Integrity Act. And I was told by a member of parliament, there is no way we are going to pass a law that is going to be an obstacle to us ascending to or defending our seats in the next election. We are happy to approve this law, but we will put the effective date beyond the next election. And that has been the case over and over again. And even where those laws are passed, they have been weakened so that they don't become a threat to those who seek to defend their seats and those outside there of questionable integrity who want to come in. And this has been enabled partly because good people like you and me have also shied away from seeking political office. And I want to challenge you again. Youth is not a disability in any way. You must present yourself for election. And I know you will ask me, where do I get the resources to do it? I can tell you that this country has a history of, people who have sought, positions of responsibility or elective positions without having the amount of monies many others have, and they have succeeded. So if you have your ideas and you can communicate to the people well, then you don't have to shy away because of the way we have monetized our elections. I think the other bit is really to implore us to promote the values that we so desire and to live by those values so that we lead by example. And also to create platforms for harnessing your voices, and to use outputs to influence practice, policy, and legislation. And this is where certainly many of you can partner with us at this. That said, I hold this very firm belief that we can roll the tide against corruption in this country and on this continent, and we can see change and transformative change in my lifetime and in your lifetime. So I do not think that it is an impossibility, but I think we must roll up our sleeves and be unselfish in pursuit of a better country. Let me conclude by some reflection on our, the fight against colonialism in this country, because I do not see the fight against corruption as any different from the fight against colonialism in this country. And if you remember the people who took up arms to go into the forest to fight for the independence of a country, the Land and Freedom Army, those were youth, most likely in your age or less. They didn't have much. They suffer the same incapacities that you still suffer today. They were outnumbered. You are not outnumbered, but they were outnumbered in terms of the troops that they were up against. And the weapons that they had were nothing compared to what the colonialists had. But they had the resolve, and justice was on their side. Remember the old saying that the arc of history is long, but it tends towards justice? I think that is the inspiration we must continue to get. And if you feel that you waver and you are inadequate, you must ask yourself, what did the likes of Dedan and Kimathi have in their hands to become the freedom fighters that they became? That is the challenge that I leave with you this evening. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kimeu, for your remarks, and we acknowledge the remarkable work that you've been doing in this field. We also hope to work with you in the near future as well. Once again, we also want to keep heeding, yes, we'd like to thank you very much for asking us to keep heeding the call to fight corruption as youth. For next, moving on next, we'll be moving on to the 3 winners. Just to kindly note that you will be expected to come to the Youth Café office on the 30th of September to get your gifts. One of my colleagues will reach out to you in the coming days to arrange the logistics with you, and congratulations to you all.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone, for attending. And thank you, Mr. Kimeu, for giving us such an inspirational address. We hope to leverage our numbers, as you said, and build our potential and our skills to make a better tomorrow. We want to hear what you all have said throughout the event. And so for that, I'd like to request my colleague to read the chats and address any questions that you may have either to the Youth Café team or to Mr. Kimeu. And please feel free to type in any feedback or questions or raise your hand, and we will try our best to let you address them and ask your questions to whoever, and we'll try our best to answer them. So I think, David, could you please read out the comments or any questions that anyone might have? Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Malika. So I'll take a look at some of the comments coming in. Great insights, Mr. Kimeu, Owen Sam, Nina Morabo saying, feeling energized to take more action. Thank you, Mr. Samuel. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm humbled. Brian Omundi. Yeah, congratulations, Brian. Kevin Okumo saying, kindly let us know when the next competition will be. Also, kindly help fight corruption by providing support. Lastly, congratulations to all who participated and the winners. Well, Kevin, keep a lookout in our social media platforms and also visit our website. All the informations will be there, whether we're going to be having any programs and initiatives moving forward or any other future competitions that we'll be having. Well, Peter Ngura says, congratulations, winners, and happy to see Mr. Kimeu. Since his Transparency International days, he has done a great job in fighting corruption in Kenya. Dennis Okello, congratulations to the top 3 and indeed all the youths that made a step of action in participating in the corruption event. I cherish all your efforts and trust that this is a stepping stone towards realization of our dreams of corruption-free world. Cheers. And God bless. Damaris, our winner of today, she says, I am truly humbled. Thank you so much. This is a win to everyone and to all the community members standing up as voices to the voiceless. I'm really open to partnership with you all. Please, let's build synergies. Well, congratulations to our winners of today. And I hope moving forward, this energizes you to take part in future activities such as this one, and to always take part in your communities, in your societies, and always challenge your peers to stand up and fight for what is good for our country moving forward. Thank you.
Okay, so sorry, thank you so much, David, for that. There's just one question that I just saw on the chat to Mr. Kimeu. What do we do when youth are threatened after whistleblowing, killing, getting fired from jobs, and so on? I mean, would you have any insights to offer?
Yes, I think I will go back to what I said earlier. One is that fighting corruption can be pretty dangerous, so don't do it alone. Make sure that you are working with other people and reach out to organizations that you work with and let them know every time what you're doing and what is happening to you. And if you do that, you will find protection. For your information, in my 10 years tenure as the executive director, I received many threats, but I am still here. And I think like many of you and many people, I don't quite fear death. I think it will come one day anyway, and it'd rather find me not in my house or cowering in a corner. It would rather find me in action. And I think that alone has kept me going, because even those who threaten you are themselves not immortal. So that's one way I would say. Solidarity is what has worked. I think many of you would remember a more recent case of the whistleblowers in the Mara East, and you know what has happened to them, and they are under protection, I can tell you, and the solidarity that they are receiving will see them through. That is essentially what we need. But if they are left on their own, of course, they are nothing compared to, you know, the cartels of those who benefit illicitly from our side.
Yes, thank you so much for that comment, Mr. Kimeu. There's another question, but it's sort of, what about groups of youth who fight for corruption? I think Mr. Kimeu has already addressed this when he said that we should be harnessing our numbers as the youth and supporting each other in solidarity to fight this vice that is corruption. So I can see that no one else has any questions, but thank you so much, Mr. Kimeu, for being with us here today and for providing such amazing insight and inspiration to us all. And great, thank you for joining us for this event and sharing your views, thoughts, and feedback with us, everyone. We deeply value feedback from our stakeholders at the Youth Cafe. And now, before we end this event, we would like to capture this wonderful moment in solidarity. I'd like to request all of you to please turn on your cameras so we can take a group photo. And I will count down to 3, and we can all just give our best smiles. And someone will be taking the photo for us. Okay, here we go. Hello, hello, I see you all. Hi. Y'all look wonderful today. Okay, just a few more. Okay. I think, okay. Huh. All right. So I think we can just go ahead and take the photo now. Yeah. All right. 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay, done. There we go. I hope someone took the photo from the Youth Cafe site. Yes, awesome. Thank you all once again for your invaluable support and contributions throughout this event. We look forward to working with you in the future. And until then, goodbye and have a fantastic evening. Goodbye, everyone.